Yeah, Dr. Nwankwo, let me take you back to something you said earlier on about the private sector playing a key role. How is that going to happen when, one, as you highlighted, cost of borrowing funds externally is cheaper by 7% than the local one, so it's higher, tougher here, and then government is still the highest spender?
Yeah, that's what we're saying. You are in a process where you're trying to turn around things. From where you are, you want to change things. And you have to begin. Where are you going to begin? And you ask yourself, and you come to the conclusion that possibly the most critical point to start is to deal with the infrastructure problem. Now, if you deal with the infrastructure problem, the cost of power will be lower, the cost of transportation will be lower, the cost of most other services will be lower. That impacts on the price level in the economy. And when that impacts by bringing down price level, the general price level, call it the consumer price index, which is a classical measure of the price level and the rate thereof of inflation. When you do that much, now the monetary authorities in Nigeria, the Central Bank of Nigeria, when they're setting the monetary policy rate, they will set it low, because all over the world, people should not be blaming central bank. All over the world, a central bank knows that it will, as much as possible, try to put the monetary policy rate high enough to catch up with the inflation rate. Otherwise, you'll be talking of negative real rates of interest, which destroys the economy. So the way to go about it is that you have adequate infrastructure, power, road, transportation, ICT. All these we made the cost, and then plus the soft infrastructure, the enabling environment, procedures, legal, regulatory. All these will make the cost of production in the economy much lower. If the cost of production is lower, the prices of goods and services will be lower. And over time, so that's inflation will start coming down. And if inflation comes down, the monetary policy rate will be lower. And if monetary policy rate is lower, the lending rates will be lower. That is the sequence. And so government is approaching it from the structural point of view, and that's the right approach to follow, because the problem is structural. To deal with infrastructure deficits as a major beginning of the issue. Of course, there are other supplementary policies and strategies and programs, but infrastructure is the heart of Nigeria's economic problem. You need infrastructure to be competitive. We are talking of an economy in recession. What does that mean? You have to, it means, first of all, that you have to do with your imports of goods and services. It also means you have to deal with the export of goods and services.
Before we address infrastructure, there is also, the psychological scars that, Nigerians have experienced from the years of SAP. And, there's always a very strong reluctance to talk about, any new loans. That definitely happens many times. And you heard our guest there, just before, as soon as we went on break, raising certain questions as to, whether or not the process for getting these loans have been transparent. Have we addressed all the questions? For instance, you talked about the Federation account. How would the interest on these loans be charged? Would they be first line charge, or, will all the state and federal government have to bear the burden? After all, it's the federal government that is asking for the loans.
Thank you very much. First of all, very important, all the reservations, all the concerns, all the interests Nigerian public are expressing, very valid and very useful. And the Debt Management Office and government encourage this. Indeed, one of our objectives of public debt management in Nigeria is to make sure we democratize public debt management knowledge, so that the Nigerian public within the vanguard of making sure that debt management policies and strategies are appropriate, and that those responsible for public debt management are doing their job. So that's the first commendation. The second one is to know that the external borrowing program, which Mr. President has placed before the National Assembly for approval, covering 3 years, is for the Federation. It covers projects in all the states of the Federation. As you know, in Nigeria, there's no physical geographical location called the federal government. So all the railways, all the rural water projects, all the education and health projects, all the road projects are in one state of the Federation or the other. Many of them, some of the projects are multi-state projects. So Nigerians have to appreciate that the borrowing program before the National Assembly is presented by the president, because by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, only the federal government has a right for external borrowing, and then it on-lends to states. So the procedure, for example, is that states that need rural water supply, we made their submissions to the International Economic Relations Department of the Ministry of Finance, which aggregates. So the package that the president has presented is a package for the whole country, including the borrowing, external borrowing interests of all the states of the federation. So that should be clear. So the borrowing is borrowing of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the federal government, and the state governments. And almost all the projects are actually state projects. If you like power supply, of course, you know, it will be a general thing for everybody, no matter where the dam, Mandela Dam is. The power generated is for the system.
But there are projects that the federal government will handle.
Yeah, there are some, of course, the federal government will handle, like specific roads. But the point I'm making, if you have a road project by the federal government, so you want to expand the road from Abuja to Lokoja to Benin, you want to expand it to 10 lanes. Of course, the federal government is handling it, but it's passing through 5 steps. So who are the beneficiaries? But the federal government will take responsibility for the debt servicing. But it is doing it on behalf of the states.
Okay, I think that's the most important part.
So,
who takes responsibility for the debt service?
So it depends on the project. For that type of project, yes, the federal government takes responsibility for such a project, even though it passes through 5, 6 steps. Who we say are the direct beneficiaries. But in Nigeria, infrastructure benefits all of us. No matter, even if you are from Bayelsa State and you are coming to Abuja, you are riding through that good road or through that good, efficient railway. So you are enjoying it. So the federal government is thinking of all Nigeria. It's not talking, there's no particular place in Nigeria that is called federal government. So everything the federal government is doing is for the country. That's one point to note. Secondly, is that in terms of debt servicing, projects that are specific to states, for example, if you have a rural water supply that was a state subscribed to, or universal basic education project that a state, 10 or 5 states subscribe to, that we need this, or you have a particular agricultural program funded by the World Bank, which 7 or 8 states subscribe to, that we're interested in this. We're interested in this loan from the World Bank for developing rice production in our state, for example. Are you getting it? Then the state will be responsible for that, for the debt servicing.
Okay.
But so the loan is procured by the federal government in cooperation with the relevant states.
I see.